NOLA Workers Group for standing here in solidarity. We really appreciate your support. I think it's important to start off with last week. Last week in our state legislature, where we had two bills to go before the House committees. One for qualified immunity, the other mandating that the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office has body cams. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of those bills or the votes, but what was important is that our legislatures heard the cries of the community that we need better transparency and accountability from our law enforcement officials. Now, what we get a lot of times is pushback. And the number one thing we hear is cost. When you talk about qualified immunity, it is the cost that it would be on officers with a bunch of lawsuits filed. When you talk about the body cams, it's the cost of those body cams and what it would be to the budget. When you talk about putting together a civilian oversight board, we hear cost and time. Well, we're here, standing here today, to say that the time for saying transparency and accountability has a price is over. Listen, if you wear a badge, it is the only profession in the United States that allows you to take away a person's property, a person's liberty, and a person's life. Specifically speaking about Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office and the disturbing cases that have gone on for far too long, we can only look recently. First, talking about Mr. Jamal McGee. Jamal was a 14-year-old child that was shot in the back. We only found out last week what law enforcement official or law enforcement office was responsible for shooting Jamal in the back. When the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office sheriff got on television and said, yes, it was one of his deputies. He went on to say that he believed his deputy was in the right or took the right course of action when he engaged Mr. McGee. Without any further explanation, that is absolutely ridiculous, and the community should not accept that. You should not be able to give the same cop speak that, listen, our officers did the right thing without explanation, especially when you have shot an unarmed child in the back. And how we know he was unarmed? He was not charged with having a firearm. We need further explanation. Moving on to Modesto Reyes, and I'm going to pass it over in a moment to my co-counsel, Mr. Christopher Morrell. But we learned last week, after his mother wanted an independent autopsy done because she was not getting the answers, there was no transparency. She has not spoken to the sheriff's office. She has not seen the video. We have not seen the video. The public has not seen that 8-second video. So she went and got an independent autopsy to get answers for herself. And the results of that autopsy were that Modesto Reyes was shot twice in the back. That, combined with the witness statements that we've been able to give, shows that the accounting and the spend by the Sheriff's Department is wrong and false. At this time, I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Morrell, who's going to go into details about the autopsy report. Then Mr. Dietrich Moore is going to speak. We'll allow the family to speak, and then we'll open the floor for questions. Thank you.
Good morning. As we've all been told many times, sunlight is the best disinfectant. What we know about the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office is it is infected, corrupted, and does not hold its deputies accountable. The night that Modesto Reyes was shot, the sheriff for the Jefferson Parish Sheriff, got on the news and he gave a statement. He said 2 officers were in pursuit of Modesto. He fell, turned to point a gun at the officers. That's when the shots happened. because we knew we could not rely on the Jefferson Parish Sheriff to bring the truth, to bring honesty, to bring accountability, an independent autopsy was done, and it shows the sheriff's version is a lie. Modesto Reyes has 2 entry wounds in his back, in his upper back right here. One bullet went out of his chest right here. Another one lodged in his sternum right here. This means that he was squarely shot in the back. Bullets travel at over 1,400 miles an hour. There is no way he could turn and that bullet could have the trajectory through his body that the sheriff's deputies claim. We know this account the sheriff gave to be objectively incorrect, to be a mistruth, to be a lie based on the forensic evidence in this case. And then you see him do the same thing again with Tramal McGee. He tries to claim the reason that they don't say that Tramal was shot, a 14-year-old was shot back in March by Jefferson Parish sheriffs, is because of Louisiana law protecting juveniles. But you go on the internet real quick. A quick search last night on Google revealed JPSO giving statements about a juvenile suspect being arrested for attempting to break into a car. Juvenile suspect being arrested for a murder, or juvenile suspect being arrested for attempted robbery. Anytime it works for them, looks good for them, they're happy to talk about juvenile suspects in the media. When it doesn't, they try to hide it. They try to hide their officers' misconduct, and they do not hold anyone accountable. There's a long history of this in Jefferson Parish. Body cameras are needed, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Moore.
Very quickly, I think it's important to say this not only for ourselves that while we're standing here, but the citizens are tired of the same narrative that the sheriff's office is given. The narrative that we cannot have any expectation from the sheriff's office to be transparent. The narrative that there's been some idea that someone did something illegal which prompted them to shoot someone in the back. A person has the right to be safe within themselves, period. To shoot an unarmed person that is fleeing away from you certainly is a constitutional violation, and I think that the citizens of not only New Orleans, but Jefferson Parish and all over the country find themselves completely distraught at these actions. I'm not going to take much time because we begin to be redundant in saying we need transparency. No longer is silence the call of the day. We have too many police departments who just remain silent and hope that the citizens of New Orleans, the citizens of Baton Rouge, the citizens of Jefferson Parish will hopefully be silenced over a period of time. It is imperative that we say no more. It is imperative that we require change. It is imperative that the state of Louisiana stand up and represent its citizens. There is no cost that is too high that outweighs the burden of Louisiana's citizens. The police agency's department should not have the right to make that claim, that the cost is too high for a particular budget. None of these families would take $1 if they could have their loved ones back. Take time to visit with the lost parents and the souls of those individuals who've gone on. Not $1 matters if they could have their loved ones back. Children could have their fathers back. Mothers could have their sons back. Fathers could have their daughters back. No longer should the cost be too high for the citizens of Louisiana. We ask for change and we need it now. Thank you. We're going to hear from Modesto Reyes, his brother, and at that point we'll take questions from the audience.
I think Mr. Reyes, his brother, is going to decline to speak, and we'll take questions now.
What lawsuits have been anticipate being filed on behalf of the family?
At this point, there's not a lawsuit filed. We do anticipate filing lawsuits in both the McGee and the Reyes cases. Right now, we're in the fact-finding mode. We're trying to find witnesses. We're trying to get information from the Sheriff's Department. We've sent public records requests. Those have not been answered to this date, but once we get additional information, we do plan on moving forward quickly.
Did Modesto Reyes have any firearms on him?
We believe that he had firearms in his book sack, but not on his physical person, not in his hands.
Have you shared the witness statements that you received in this new autopsy with the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Department?
No, we haven't. We are waiting on the move is on them. They have not reached out to his family. We have not seen the videotape. That videotape was shown to selected members of the media. An 8-second taser video that we believe that there is a longer version of. Common sense would tell you that it would take longer than 8 seconds to take it out the holster, shoot it, put it back in, and then put it back in the holster would take longer than 8 seconds given what happened. So we have not. But we also did just get the autopsy report on Friday. So the information that we're getting is more in real time. This is information that they've had since the shooting approximately a month ago.
And the information that you received from your autopsy, was it different than the information that they received from the Jefferson Parish?
We don't know because the coroner has not released anything to us. That's part of the reason why we got an independent autopsy.
Have you heard from any other outside agencies who may be contacted to try and help you guys with this case?
In reference to the McGee case, we reached out to the state police to see if there's been an investigation open in that matter. They said that there has not been an investigation. Most sheriff's departments throughout the state have a memorandum of understanding with the state police in which if there's an officer-involved shooting that requires an investigation, that they will be the ones to take lead on the investigation. One of the cases that we do have is in Port Allen, Louisiana, a gentleman by the name of Joseph Richardson. That case is turned over to the state police, and they conducted an investigation. However, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office does not have the same memorandum of understanding. Thus, they investigate their own cases, which is a conflict of interest that I believe any blind person could see.
The Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Department typically turns over officer-involved shooting investigations to the Jefferson Parish District Attorney's Office. Have you reached out to them to see if they have any more information?
On the McGee case, everything has been pretty much quiet. They are using the Children's Code to say they cannot talk about an open investigation involving a child. As far as the Reyes case, it is still, we do know that that is an open investigation that has not been turned over or ruled on yet.
So you've reached out to the Jefferson Parish District Attorney?
Yes.
Have you requested to view the taser video
Yes, we have.
and you were declined?
Put off is a better word.
Now that these stories are coming to light, have JPSO that you know of reached out to the families in any way to try and meet with them and talk about the cases?
On the two cases that we have, the McGee and the Reyes cases, no, they haven't. Not as of today.
Just, I was wondering, why have the press conference in New Orleans? Why have it here?
Just organization-wise, it wasn't. There was not. There was no, I guess, thought about having it here versus Jefferson Parish. The NOLA Workers Group had reached out to us about giving us support. This is something that we wanted to do this week after learning the new information, the information about the independent autopsy, and the fact that the Sheriff's Department had admitted to shooting Mr. McGee. This was just a better way to get folks organized.
Can the families speak to the support of all the people that are here with them today? Is there something that the families can say to us?
Yeah, I want to thank the New Orleans Workers Group for coming out and supporting the situation that's going on with the Jefferson Parish Police Department and how they not cooperating with the public and trying to answer our questions.
If there's no more questions, that'll be it. We appreciate everybody coming out and bearing with us with this inclement weather, and we look forward to talking to you guys soon.
Real quick, what's the next move from you guys from a legal standpoint or a family standpoint? Where do you go?
Well, right now we have the outstanding public records requests on both the McGee case and the Reyes case. Those requests have not been answered yet by the different law enforcement agencies that we've sent those requests to. Once we get answers to those requests, we'll be in a position to make the next move. But the idea is that to get and obtain enough facts to be able to put into a viable lawsuit for both the Reyes and McGee families.
And to show our dedication to transparency, if any of y'all here want a copy of the autopsy report, I'll be here afterward. I have my cards. We're happy to share it with everyone because we believe the truth should come out in this case, and that is how we're approaching this case as opposed to the Jefferson Parish Sheriff.
I wonder though, if you're willing to share the autopsy report with all of us, why not share it with the investigators?
If the Jefferson Parish Sheriff, we have been in touch with them about trying to watch the taser video. They've never gotten back to us. We're happy to share it with the Jefferson Parish Sheriff. We're happy to share it with Jefferson Parish GA. We are willing to give this evidence to anybody who wants to look at it.
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the workers group, we want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting this effort. The workers group believes and supports the family's efforts for justice. We support the demand for body cameras. And of course, we are here because the repression in Jefferson Parish is very, very harsh. They arrested people unjustifiably last week, and we stand and demand that they drop all charges against our people. Thank y'all again for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank y'all so much for y'all support. We couldn't have done it without you guys. Honestly, everything's fine.